today I'm going to make a custard. Today's custard is going to be a bit thicker than usual as it's going to be going onto sponge cake. So this is basically a pastry cream. The basic equipment and ingredients for custard are always the same. You're going to need a bowl, a whisk, measuring cup or jug, and two types of measuring cup or jug because you're going to have dry ingredients and wet ingredients, a saucepan of the right size. Your ingredients will be caster sugar, milk, cream, either vanilla essence or vanilla bean if you can find any. I got vanilla essence because it's cheap and most people at home probably will have vanilla essence in their house. And eggs. With these eggs I will begin. You can either crack, open the shell, strain out the whites like this, but you do run the risk of it breaking like so. If you want to use the whites for anything else, then that's not going to be any good. But I'm going to throw away these whites because I don't have anything planned. So for me, that's okay. Or if you don't want to break it and you don't have a piece, you can crack it with your hands. You can gently lift it. It's easier to grab one without it breaking. So I need 4 yolks. Now I have my egg yolk into the bowl. I need 1/4 cup of the sugar. Caster sugar or plain sugar is probably the best for this one, as it will dissolve more evenly than such things like icing sugar. Brown sugar is probably not ideal because you're going to have to cook this at another stage and brown sugar caramelizes too much. So I'll put this into the bowl with the egg using the whisk. I'll continue whisking this until it's smooth, but until that time I need to put my milk and cream. For the milk and cream, it's 1 cup cream, like that. 1 cup of the milk. Since I'm using light milk, I might take a little bit longer to heat up, but that's not a problem. Doesn't matter if you use light milk or skim milk or full cream milk, because you're going to have the cream coming from your cream. If I had vanilla bean at this point, I'll break the vanilla bean, scrape the seeds, put the seeds through, put the vanilla beans in, probably stir it around a little bit, and then this goes on to the heat. We wanted to just bring that up to a simmer, which we can do pretty quickly with the gas fire here, but I'll continue with this. What I'm doing here with the sugar and the egg is known as a sabayon, and you can do this with egg and vinegar or something like that. Anything that's egg and some sort of agent that'll break the egg up. So when you get to a creamy contexture like this, maybe a little bit more, that's pretty much done. So in a moment I will tell you how I will put my vanilla from concentrates. You want it to just reach the boil without it starting to boil too much.
You've done this kind of thing before with custard, yeah?
Yeah. Yep, this is a common thing to do with custard. It's common for filling of things like cakes. You fill your eclairs, and if anyone at home knows the Italian dessert cannoli, this is the filling for that as well. I was at a place that was doing experimental and chemical culinary type of skills, similar to Heston on the TV you might have seen, and they had a custard serving as a cranberry sauce with turkey. I should mention that most chocolate fillings for your cakes are also based on this because it holds a lot better than normal chocolate, and if you've got a fresh chocolate, cream chocolate filling, it's probably a custard. At this stage, when I'm doing my milk, I probably drop in some of whatever chocolate that I want to put in, And as it comes up to the boil, that'll melt the chocolate, and you mix through your cream, and it will have the flavour of the chocolate. And same as if you've got caramel or something like that, you put it in through your milk. And as you can see, my milk and cream is starting to boil. Just wanted to bring to a boil just like that. As you can see, just to a nice simmer. That's just about there. That foam on top doesn't matter. That always tends to happen. So I'll turn off the heat at the moment because I don't need it. Okay. Now, since I'm using the concentrate, is the time where I'll add the vanilla essence. Just a little bit into the milk. Just like that. Stir that around. Give it a taste. Try to taste with a spoon because firstly, it's boiling milk, so you hurt yourself. Secondly, it's less dirty. There's no strict measurements for when you're using a vanilla essence. And at this stage, don't put quite as much as what you would think. So you can just taste the vanilla. Yep. Okay. So this is warm. I'll put this into my egg mix. That starts to cook the egg, sort of. And I whisk it for a little bit until it's well combined. Just wipe up this mess that I made. Now, using the same pan, give it a good clean. This is to get anything that's burnt on when you're coming to the boil. You might have a little bit of cream on the side or the edge. There's a couple of ways you can go about this next step. The way I'm going to show you is the easiest way, but does take a little bit of time. So I put water, just clean water, into the pan again, and I bring my pot. I should actually do it on this one. So I use a small flame so it doesn't come over the sides. I don't want it to be hot when I put the pan on because that'll start to do everything too quickly. You have a towel and then you can grab onto the side and it's not too hot. Sometimes a bit of hot air will come off the flame. If you're doing this on an electric, you still have to have that because heat will come up. So at the moment it's relatively thin, but as that starts to heat up, it will become thicker. Try to keep it moving as much as possible, otherwise it will stick on the bottom and it will burn, and also it can become a little bit lumpy if you don't move it around. So you can see, go around the edge, go into the middle, use a small figure of 8, it's one of the best ways. If you don't have much time, for example, you have a cake that you need to do later in the day, you can always get rice flour or some tapioca, something of the sort, some sort of starch, depending on how solid you want this. Just sprinkle a little bit in, about a teaspoon, or probably actually a tablespoon. When you put this in, make sure you whisk it quite vigorously, otherwise you get lumps. So that should start to bind relatively quickly. If I lift up my pot, that's starting to steam, and you can see steam is coming off the top of my custard as well. Then try to scrape that little bit that comes off the side so that it doesn't sit and it doesn't burn. Got to remember this has still got raw egg inside and that can scramble. As I run my whisk through it, you can see it has like a wake, and that foam on top is kind of breaking and revealing underneath. That means that it's starting to thicken up, as you can see. We want it to go a fair bit thicker than that. You can put this in the pan if you're confident. If you do put it in the pan, be prepared to have delicious vanilla flavored scrambled eggs. However, if you're not confident, keep it on a lower heat. You don't have to do much to keep this moving, so don't worry about you're going to get too tired or anything like that. If you're following it home with the low heat, you'll just see that it'll come like this. Okay, that's nearly where I'm at to. As you can see, that's quite thick. It's not quite coating my whisk, so I'll go a little bit more. One thing you want to make sure is when you take it off the heat, you don't want it to be at the thickness that you want to put on your cake. You have to remember that as it cools, it'll become thicker again. Since I want to be able to spread it quite well onto my cake, I want it to be relatively thick. So I just want it to start to coat onto my whisk like that. You can test that. Get your whisk, run it along, it won't come back again. So check my flavor as well there. And that's about where I want it to be. And it holds. So that's coating consistency. That's probably a fairly good consistency for if you want to put it on a cake or something like that. Okay, this is the conclusion of my custard demonstration. This custard has been sitting in the fridge for about a day, and as you can see, it's become quite solid and quite delicious. And what I've done with my cake is I've placed it on. As you can see, it's sticking to the cake, which is kind of a good thing, and it holds its shape, sticks together quite nicely. And thank you for watching, and please enjoy your custard.